Hey, welcome back, everyone, to the Educational AD Podcast. We just got back from the 52nd annual NADC conference in Denver, and we've got a great guest for you today. We're going to give you a chance to meet him, but first, let's hear from our podcast sponsors who make all of this possible. We want to thank Violet Defense for their support of the Educational AD Podcast. Violet Defense is dedicated to protecting your world from germs by bringing the power of UV disinfection to everyday spaces. Their patented technology enables them to harness the power of the sun to incorporate ultraviolet light into products and environments like never before. Whether you're ready to implement existing products, or if you'd like to explore researching and developing a custom deployment of their technology for your school, Violet Defense has the solutions and experience you need. Go to violetdefense.com for more information about their great products. We also want to thank Sideline Interactive. You've heard me say many times that we've got a Sideline Interactive video score table in our gym, and our coaches just love it. We use it for games, for pep rallies, for signing ceremonies. It's tremendously versatile. You really need to reach out to these folks. You know, it's also becoming harder and harder to fund an athletic department these days, but Sideline Interactive's video score tables allow you to raise $10,000 or more every year while creating excitement in the gym and the ultimate game day experience for your student athletes. Go to sidelineinteractive.com or call them at 832-786-0302 to schedule a live web demo and see their tables and boards in action. You can also email them at sales@sidelineinteractive.com and find out what these fantastic products can do for you. That's sales@sidelineinteractive.com. I promise you, you will be extremely impressed with their products and with their customer service. We also want to thank our good friends at Wall of Fame by Vital Signs. You know, they are on a mission to bring your school's legacy to life. They have a variety of interactive touchscreen video consoles and an extensive library of templates to make it easier than ever to recognize the athletic achievements of your students, both past and present. For more ideas on how to showcase your school's diverse history along with your proudest moments, visit vitalsignswalloffame.com or learn more and get started with your own digital Wall of Fame tribute. Call them at 614-981-3589 or email them at sales@vitalsignswalloffame.com. That's sales@vitalsignswalloffame.com. We also want to thank our good friends at Huddle. Remember, at Huddle, we power sports. Over 180,000 teams, including some of the best in the world, are using Huddle to elevate the performance of their teams and athletes using video and analytics. Huddle is the complete platform for performance. They have online tools, mobile and desktop apps, smart cameras like the Huddle Focus. Of course, there's analytics and a whole lot more. Huddle's built for every level of play, from club and youth teams and organizations all the way up through high school and college competition. Even professional teams are using Huddle to make their teams better. You're in pretty good company with over 180,000 schools and 6 million users, including your student athletes and a lot of their parents. Of course, the coaches at the colleges and universities that you're trying to get your kids recruited to use Huddle. So please check them out. If you want to find out more about what Huddle can do for you and how your school can become a Huddle school, go to huddle.com and talk to their professionals. Remember, at Huddle, we power sports. We also want to thank our good friends at Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack. They sponsored the Athletic Director's Toolbox segment of our podcast. Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack are a quick, easy, and affordable way for you to collect comprehensive data that allows you to evaluate and improve your athletic program. Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack also gives you access to the 95% of the players and the parents who really love your program, and it gives them a voice to help demonstrate the importance that a positive athletic experience has for them. Go to athleticsurveys.com and check out their testimonials. And then give them a call at 1-800-738-6466, or you can email them at info@athleticsurveys.com to get started. Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack. If you've never used surveys in your program to take the pulse of your parents or your kids, you really need to check it out. It's a tremendously valuable tool. And thanks again to Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack for sponsoring the Athletic Director's Toolbox. And we want to say thank you to our good friends at Hometown Ticketing, the leading digital ticketing provider to schools and colleges. Learn more at hometownticketing.com. Hometown Ticketing, simple and easy online ticketing. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Educational AD Podcast. As I told you in the intro, we are fresh back from Denver and the NIAAA's National Conference. Had a great time, but I think we really have a special guest today. We're going to be visiting with Jason Klein. Jason is a longtime professional umpire, and he's also the founder of Force 3 Pro Gear. And we're going to do a deep dive into all the different options of Force 3 gear. But Jason, welcome to the podcast.
Jake, thanks so much. I'm really excited to be here. Thank you.
Well, my wife and I were driving down the road just maybe a month ago, listening to NPR, and we heard your interview, and it was just, it just really struck a chord with me from an AD standpoint of, quality gear, safety for student athletes and for umpires. And I just thought it'd be a great message for our listeners. So I appreciate you joining us today. Speaking of listeners, we always like to start out by giving them a chance to get to know our guests. So tell us a little bit about yourself. Give us that 5-minute bio, where you were born, where you grew up, and how things kind of led to Force 3 Pro Gear.
Absolutely. I born in Connecticut, born and raised Connecticut, New Haven County, right outside New Haven, a little town called Orange. I love baseball, and was on the grounds crew of a minor league team. Then interned Major League Baseball, the All-Star Fan Fest. Then interned for the ESPN, and then the Cleveland Indians out in Cleveland. But my love was actually my love and passion was always umpiring. I know it sounds amazing, but it's true. So I turned down jobs from all those places in order to go to umpire school. So I graduated college a year early, because umpire school is only given once a year in January. So if I didn't make it my first year, I was going to be well behind the 8 ball. So I had to graduate a semester early. So I went to umpire school. I made it my first year. Then I spent the next 10 years of my life traveling the country, actually the world, for baseball. Enjoyed every minute of it, hit every level. And the last level I hit, I had already started making products for umpires, because I was getting very frustrated with the products that were there. It was always the same answer. We went to a Dick's or a sports store. Asked them where the umpire section was. They said, "Oh, absolutely, we have one. It's all the way in the back. Take a left. It's across from the bathroom on the end cap, and that's it. That's your selection." It's always the same answer. So I had done some business, when I was 13 years old, and I started just taking the extra time I had on the road and developing products that I wanted to use and make them as best I could. So one product led to another product, and then in AAA, something happened that changed the course of history and my life forever. I was hit in the worst place possible, which was my chin. They call it the kill shot, and that I've never been stopped on a field before. I never fell on the field before, which I didn't do that time either. But it delayed the game for quite a bit. I thankfully had a good catcher in front of me that I liked, and he liked me. And I had to ask him if my teeth were there and if I was bleeding. I mean, it was that traumatic. And after the dust settled, I think to myself, it's crazy. The same mask that I used in Little League is virtually the same mask I was using in that game. Nothing really had been done. Pads maybe changed, but nothing had been done. And I made a promise to myself that I would change it. I would come up with a mask. Little did I realize how much work it would be. I started on it and I stopped. I said, I've got to get done with baseball. Let's see where this goes. and then developed this mask. And it took 5 years to develop after I got out of the game. It's been a whirlwind ever since, but we'll leave it right there, and I'll get to other questions. So we'll get into the real minutia of it.
No, I appreciate you giving that background. And again, as a high school basketball official, and I also officiate, track, I'm right there with you on the attraction of officiating kids. It's not playing, it's not coaching, but it's certainly a big part of that athletic experience. Very cool stuff. For listeners, if you just tuned in, we are visiting with Jason Klein. He's the founder of Force 3 Pro Gear. We're going to take a quick break, but we're going to be back with more, including a deep dive into all the great products. And I'm speaking as an athletic director, all the great products that Force 3 Pro Gear has. So please stick with us. We want to thank our good friends at Huddle for supporting the Educational AD podcast. Remember, at Huddle, we power sports. More than 180,000 teams, including some of the best in the world, are using Huddle to elevate the performance of their teams and their athletes using video and analytics. Huddle's the complete performance platform. They have online tools, mobile and desktop apps, smart cameras like the Huddle Focus. We've got a Huddle Focus in our gym, and it is fantastic. The coaches love it, and I love it too. Of course, there's analytics and a lot more. Huddle's built for every level of play, from the club and the youth programs all the way up through high school and college teams, and even professional organizations are using Huddle to improve their play. You're in pretty good company with over 6 million users, including your student athletes, a lot of their parents, and of course, the coaches at the college and universities that you're trying to get your kids recruited to. If you want to find out more about how Huddle can help your athletic department and how your school can become a Huddle school, go to huddle.com and talk to their professionals. Remember, at Huddle, we power sports. We're back with Jason Klein, the founder of Force 3 Pro Gear. Jason, in the athletics world, the coaching world, we always talk about the importance of leadership and particularly mentorship. So I always ask our guests, who are some of your mentors that you've had, maybe parents or coaches growing up, or people that you've worked with along the way? Again, the expression I always use is I still hear those voices in my head. So whose voice do you still hear?
Well, I still hear, obviously, the biggest cheerleaders in my life have been my parents and my brothers. It's not normal for someone to say they want to be an umpire, and that's really what they want to do. And they were behind me, and my mother and father, just by way of what they did for a living, it came to me. I mean, it's osmosis, or it's whatever it was. It gave me the foundation to think the way I do, and which I think made me, so hard-headed to go through with this all the way to where we are right now. Which is a great thing. Plus, anyone that I had worked for, I had always taken advice and learned lessons from them that I still use today. And it's something that I treat everyone with, and make sure that I understand that, there's a lot to life other than just a job. And you have all the relationships and the people that help you get there. You've got to make sure that you take care of that, and you pass it on.
No, absolutely. I love that idea of passing it on to the next generation, giving back. Before we break, you mentioned earlier that you had an opportunity to umpire at multiple levels, including across the world. Do you got a quick, anecdote to share? Maybe a minor league stadium story, or even something overseas. What's one of your favorite anecdotes about the umpiring to share?
Well, I can tell you a lot of stories, but from throwing out the entire coaching staff and having to have a player manager appointed, that was
like
not a
that
fun
one.
night.
That's great.
Yeah. To being having a manager jumping up and down and splashing water on me during a rain delay, and me ejecting him, and him telling me that I had little man's complex, and I just replied to him, we're the same height. And many, I could go on and on and on and on. I've been to cities that I never knew existed. partially, I probably never hope they never did exist, but that's part of the minor leagues. It's not supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be a grind. And baseball is my love. And I loved every minute of it.
Yeah. Baseball was not in my toolbox. I think I played Little League for a couple of years. Some of my best friends in high school and in college, the best man at my wedding and was a college baseball player, dear friend. So I enjoyed watching it, but I was a track guy during the spring. So
I was a terrible player, but that wasn't the reason I wanted to be an umpire. I really wanted to be an umpire. I mean, some people want to be police officers. It's the same thing. I mean, we're all in criminal justice. They had a gun, I have my finger, and that's it. But umpiring was truly my passion.
That certainly comes through as you share. I love it. You're dealing with law enforcement. I'll use that one maybe at my next basketball game I'm reffing. Once again, for listeners, we are visiting with Jason Klein. He's the founder of Force 3 Pro Gear. If you haven't heard of it, you really need to, Google that. And he's going to do a deep dive here in just a minute into how the products got developed and what the products actually are and why you as an AD or a coach should check them out. Please stay with us. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We also want to thank our good friends at Sideline Interactive. It's becoming harder and harder to fund an athletic department these days. But Sideline Interactive's video score tables and video boards can generate $10,000 or more every year, while also creating excitement in the gym and the ultimate game day experience for your student athletes. You've heard me say before that we have a Sideline Interactive video board in our gym, and it is fantastic. We use it for home games. We use it for pep rallies. We also use it for signing ceremonies. It's tremendously versatile, and you really need to check it out. Go to sidelineinteractive.com or call them at 832-786-0302 to schedule a live web demo. You can also email them at sales@sidelineinteractive.com and find out exactly what their products can do for you. That's sales@sidelineinteractive.com. I promise you, you won't be disappointed. Welcome back to the Educational AD Podcast. We're visiting with Jason Klein, the founder of Force 3 Pro Gear. Jason, as I said, I heard you on NPR as you were talking about the development of the Force 3 catcher's mask and just has some really interesting technology. So again, take our listeners through, a little bit of that story of, how it got started, and then, let's do that deep dive into that catcher's mask and some of the other products that Force 3 has.
Happy to. So it all started with that one night when I got hit in the chin. That led to me developing this mask right here. This is our Force 3 Defender mask. What makes it different, while it looks traditional, there's nothing traditional about this. So this is a system made up of a bottom mask, a top mask, and it's separated by spring assemblies. Now these spring assemblies, they all move independently upon impact. So what that does is the energy that goes from the top cage travels to the springs, and any residual energy then goes to the head. It absorbs frontal impacts like no other mask. It's a system though. The pads took just as long to develop as the cage itself. So we needed pads to support the top cage upon impact, or else the energy was already going to be transferred. So this is the most popular mask in Major League Baseball. More than 30 catchers this past season wore this mask. What makes it very special is only one player is under contract to wear this mask, and that's Yasmani Grandal. He's a partner of Force 3, and he has invested a lot of money to wear this mask. That has also gotten the interest from the MLBPA. The MLBPA and their new arm, the MLBPI, they're actually shareholders in our company. So they're part owners in Force 3 because they know what this mask has done. They have seen it for the past 3 years. And there are major league teams that are making it mandatory now for their minor league players. You'll have one choice as a minor league player, hockey style or traditional, but it will be Force 3, and 0 concussions. So we only can go off data that we're given. We have not had one reported concussion, not one. And there's thousands of impacts. So we did a deal with the South Atlantic League. The umpires, if they wanted to wear it, the league would buy it. Over 3 years, over 500 impacts, no missed days, no concussions. The workers' comp insurance actually went down. Pretty amazing. So this is the hockey style. It's the same concept. You've got the shell, the springs are 3 sets of springs like the mask, the traditional mask. But what's different about this one, this is radical, the forehead extension. Now, without the forehead extension, getting hit on the top of the head, it's just like getting hit on the side of the head and with a helmet. So this is already safe catch at the major league level. The Padres were committed to wearing this, and now it's accepted. This mask here is on permanent display at the Baseball Hall of Fame. So they recognize that this is a true evolution of the mask. In fact, we were 4 days shy of 108 years before anything really dramatic happened to this mask. So we're very excited about it. We're developing. We're always developing. We're going into other sports. Other sports are contacting us. All of our products, regardless of if they're a major league player, minor league player, high school, little league, they all get the same equipment. It's not, we don't make special equipment for little league, or we give professional players better. We have one level, which is the best. So I can't give you a 30% protection if you only have 30% of the money. So it's not like that. I wouldn't be able to sleep at night. It's only the best protection. And if you can't afford it, I started a 501c3, and we'll make sure that you get the equipment. So that's what our company is about. We make everything top of the line. So when you get our equipment, there's nothing better. We've done everything we can to the equipment. All of our equipment has Kevlar. It's lined with Kevlar. Very expensive, but force dispersing material that keeps you safe. It's not bulletproof, so umpires, don't try it.
That is so cool. And I really appreciate, you giving a great description for our listeners. Remember, this will get uploaded to YouTube in about 2 weeks, and you'll be able to see the product. But even before that, go to force3.com on the internet and check it out. Jason, I'm in my office here, and I got to do this. I collect some pieces of sports memorabilia. Here is a piece of my memorabilia. It's an 1894 catcher's mask. I'm going to guess it was an umpire mask too back in the day. So since you're kind of a historian here, how much has this mask from 1894 changed for, let's say, the standard mask that's available? And then I want you to take us through again the springs and what those do on Force 3. So how much has this changed in 130 years?
Well, I'm jealous, first of all, because that mask has seen some action, and I'll trade you. I'm glad if you want to trade. It's a fair trade. I'll give you 1 for 1 there. And but no, it's that mask was an original, and that was a new concept. When they wanted to get they used to stand so far back that it was hurting everyone. So someone came up with it was James Tying was the first one to wear it, and it was a game changer. And so that was the start, but it was solid steel or solid metal, very heavy. So like I umpired Little League, my head would be straight to the pitcher, but by the 6th inning, I'd be like my head on the ground, and I couldn't see anything because it was so heavy. So the evolution was obviously the lighter metals, and then the different padding, and then a different harness, different shapes, but it had always been the same. The metal cage was rounded, and then you had a pad and you had a harness. This mask is totally different now because it's not just one mask. It's actually 2, the bottom mask and the top mask with spring assemblies that are in between. So the top mask never really touches the bottom mask, only with the spring assemblies. So when a ball impacts it, the padding allows the top mask to move upon impact. The energy starts. Basically the baseball is caught and stopped. Okay, we have about a full inch deflection. Okay, and in that inch, we have these springs that will absorb and leave a small amount of energy left, which travels to the rest of the mask. But that's where we have our padding system. The padding system is lined with Kevlar and special foams like high density EVA and memory foam. that take care of the rest of the impact. So that was the mask that changed the game for MLB. And then our hockey style also changed the game because of the same kind of foams and the Kevlar that we have lined. This entire helmet is lined with Kevlar on the inside. Not many, actually, I don't think anyone does that. In addition to that safety feature, we have a forehead extension. It basically it just makes sure that if a baseball were to be fouled off to the top of the head, it's not going to hit the top of the head, because that surely is probably going to be a concussion. This forehead extension stops the impact, and it never touches the shell. So that's the main difference. Is this, you've never seen this type mask on a baseball field prior to us coming out with it. So that's radical. Now you can't go without watching a game in an MLB without seeing at least one of our masks on a catcher. It's even in umpire. It's been pretty amazing.
Very, very cool. We'll do this again at the end of the show, but if one of our listeners wants to reach out, find out more about the product, order some, or even just, talk to you and pick your brain, what's the best way that they can get in touch with you and find out more?
Absolutely. Our website is force3progear.com. It's FORCE, the number 3 progear.com. And you can email me. It's very simple. My first name, Jason, at force3progear.com.
Okay. Very cool. We're going to be back with some more. Please stay with us. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We also want to thank our good friends at Vital Signs Wall of Fame. They are on a mission to bring your school's legacy to life. They provide a variety of interactive touchscreen video consoles, along with an extensive library of templates to make it easier than ever to recognize the athletic achievements of your students, both past and present. For more ideas on how to showcase your school's diverse history and your proudest moments, visit vitalsignswalloffame.com. Or to learn more and get started with your own digital Wall of Fame tribute, call them at 614-981-3589 or email them at sales@vitalsignswalloffame.com. That's sales@vitalsignswalloffame.com.
Hey, the Wall of Fame there, that had Tyler Flowers. Tyler Flowers was actually our first catcher to wear our defender mask in 2016. He actually is credited to wearing it in the Hall of Fame. The Hall of Fame in Cooperstown, not the Wall of Fame, but that I'm also going to add to our bio for him.
Very cool. Hey, so our good friends at Wall of Fame, you got an even more greater celebrity there. Jason, this is a time where typically we have athletic directors talk a little bit about their school, this idea of best practices. You've already done a great job of talking about the product. Let's maybe talk about, some of the people and maybe some of the schools, organizations that are using it. What can you share with our listeners? Anytime there's a new product, I think that's one of the questions. Well, who's using it? Well, tell us, who's using the Force 3 right now?
It's a great question. Every single major league team has bought from us, and they continue to buy from us. They want to keep injuries down, and our mask has done it. Teams have told us it saved careers. It has extended careers. Our mission as a company, we get up every morning, and our mission is to end concussions. We actually say that we want to end concussions and other sports related injuries, and for players and officials to extend their careers. It's just that simple, and we won't stop until it's done. D1 schools buy from us. D2, D3, absolutely. JUCO, and NJCAA, we're the official catcher's gear of baseball and softball for the NJCAA. Ripken baseball, the Ripken experience, we're the official gear. Partnerships that mean something. Here's the best part. It doesn't cost a penny more than what other brands say are their best mask or their good mask. We don't charge any extra. So for what you would get anywhere else, you can get with our springs and our technology and keep your players safe. And why that's important is you want your best players out there. You want to win. You can't win if you don't have players out there on the field, and especially if you don't have your number one and you have to have your number two. And then if your number two gets hurt, then you got to get a backup. So my job is to really expose people to the mask and show you what the alternative is. And if you don't choose the mask, it's fine. But at least I did my job. And I hope that everything turns out good and no one gets hurt. But if they do, it's going to come back to this mask. I hope their parents don't find out.
As a longtime football coach, we had to evaluate, were we putting our kids in a safe as possible helmet? And I see the exact same parallel here with catcher's gear. And, instead of having to buy 80 helmets for a football team, what are you going to have? Maybe 3 or 4 at the most, varsity, JV, freshman team or junior high. So yeah, great point.
And also you have to take into account about price. If you're unfortunate to get a concussion, what's the price of the days off from work, the hospital visit, the recovery? So that has to be factored in too. And we don't have that with our mask.
Well, and again, our audience is mostly high school ADs. You try not to look at cost, you try to look at value. Okay. What's being provided. And you're absolutely right. You can't put a price on the health and safety of your kid. So great stuff. Jason, this has been really cool. Getting to know you a little bit. And I appreciate you coming on the podcast, but we're not quite done. When we come back, we're going to ask you to contribute to our athletic director's toolbox, which is sponsored by Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack. Stick with us, listeners. We're going to find out what Jason Klein is going to put in his athletic director's toolbox when we come back. We want to thank Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack for sponsoring the AD Toolbox segment of the podcast. Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack are a quick, easy, and affordable way for you to collect comprehensive data that allows you to evaluate and improve your athletic program. Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack also gives you access to the 95% of the players and the parents who really love your program. And it gives them a voice to help demonstrate the positive aspects of an athletic experience. Go to athleticsurveys.com and check out their testimonials, and then give them a call at 1-800-738-6466, or you can email them at info@athleticsurveys.com to get started. If you've never given your players or your parents a survey, you're really missing out on some important information. Talk to the pros at Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack. Let them help you take your athletic department from good to great. We're back with Jason Klein of Force 3 Pro Gear. Well, as I said, Jason, this has been really cool finding out more about the product and getting to know you. But right now, I'm going to ask you to send out a young athletic director on their very first job. But I'm only going to let you put 3 things in their toolbox. What 3 items are going to go in Jason Klein's athletic director toolbox?
Okay. Well, I would say a young AD is going to be great. They're going to be open to a lot of things and to never get complacent. So never, if something comes along better than our mask, great. That's what it's all about. But be open to other equipment. If someone brings it to your attention, look at it, because it's your duty to keep them safe. And you're not going to have the time to look at everything on your own. So if they bring something to you, look at it and make a decision based on what it is, and not based on a contract that was signed if you have one. The second is obviously a Force 3 mask, whether it be most likely this, because this is a high school federation rules. Make sure it's the safest you can possibly get them. Money shouldn't be the issue, and we don't ever have money be the issue. So we've never turned anyone down based on, if they have the money. This is not, protection for, 100% of the money. This is protection because we want to protect your head. So keep the kids in mind. That's the job, is to keep them safe. That's going to keep you safe for your job, and it's going to keep the parents away from you too. And the last thing really is a Force 3 mask. This is all you need. A Force 3 mask, and that's it. This is all you need. The Force 3 mask, and don't get complacent, and you're good.
No, Your first suggestion, be open to new ideas. That's actually, one of the more popular tools, in the toolbox, whether it's an AD, a coach, et cetera. Great stuff. You mentioned it earlier in the interview, but let's do it again. If one of our listeners wants to find out more about the product and ADs, coaches, you really should. Or if they just want to pick your brain a little bit, how can they get in touch with you?
I would love it. I love talking about the mask and the products, and they can get a hold of us. My email is jason@force3progear.com, FORCE, the number 3, progear.com, or our website, force3progear.com. And yeah, please reach out. Any questions? You want to learn more, see some videos? I'd love to talk.
Okay. Well, again, thanks so much for being on the podcast, and all the best moving forward.
We'll be at the APCA, so in Chicago.
For our listeners, remember the Zoom recordings of these videos are uploaded to the Educational AD Podcast YouTube channel. We appreciate you listening today and to all of our interviews. Come back again next time for another episode of the Educational AD. Before we go, I just want to, again, encourage people to go to Jason's site, force3progear.com. Anything for athlete safety, I think, is worth checking out. Thanks again for listening to the Educational AD Podcast. We also want to give a big shout out to our other sponsor, Hometown Ticketing, the leading digital ticketing provider to schools and colleges. For more information, go to hometownticketing.com. As they like to say, and it's very true, simple and easy online ticketing. Everybody have a great day.